Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 1 to What If Sasuke Was a Girl. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and there's no recap. This is a part 1, so let's just get right into the what if itself. So obviously the key/major difference in this what if is going to be that Sasuke is actually born as a female instead of being born as a male. So when we're starting off this what if, I'm going to be starting it like way back in the day. Like this is going to be academy days, like Naruto is still years away from graduating and everything like that. So Naruto walks into the classroom and he sees Sakura actually basically mumbling to herself. She's over in the corner mumbling about how there's no good guys in the village. And Naruto overhears this and he's just like, oh, perfect opportunity if you ask me. So he walks over there and he's just like, what are you talking about, Sakura? There's plenty of good guys in the village. I mean, like, look at me, I'm really nice. Look at Choji, Shikamaru, everybody's so nice here. What do you mean there's no good guys? Sakura looks at Naruto with slightly annoyed face, and she just like, Naruto, nobody here is hot. Nobody here even deserves this piece of cake. Naruto looks Sakura now. He's just like, that piece of cake? What the fuck are you talking about? Are you talking about Sasuke? Because you're flat as fuck. So Naruto says this. The door opens, and Naruto and Sakura both turn. They see Sasuke walk in. Her long, flowing black hair and elegant yet curvy body. Naruto is instantly in awe. This happens pretty much every time Naruto's really ever seen her, but Naruto's like, oh, damn, you're pretty thick. Naruto would then return back to his seat, trying to keep an eye on Sasuke in the meanwhile. That's part of the reason Naruto decided to sit in the back of the classroom. Sasuke wouldn't be able to see when Naruto stares. So the class would go on like this, and a few times like this would actually happen. However, one of these times, Sasuke would happen to turn around and notice Naruto looking at her. She stands up abruptly, turning around and walking towards Naruto angrily. Naruto realizes what happened and immediately puts up his arms in a defensive gesture. He's like, no, I didn't do anything, I promise, come on. What do you mean? I was just dozing off, daydreaming, don't mind me. Naruto awkwardly laughing all at the same time while he says this. Sasuke, with an angry, kind of blushed face at this point, slaps Naruto across the face, sending him actually kind of reeling back in his chair, sending him flying off of it. Naruto falls to the ground, and he stands up. Now his mood changed. He is no longer this awkward little kid as much as he is unhappy, to say the absolute least. Naruto stands up as he pushes himself forward towards Sasuke. He throws his hands up in the air and basically is just like, what the fuck was that for? Sasuke puts one eyebrow up as like, the fuck are you talking about? What was that for? It was because you're being a creepy perv. Naruto's like, what do you mean? As Naruto goes to try to push Sasuke forward. Sasuke casually dodges out of the way, grabbing Naruto's arm and flipping him over her. He gets sent flying down the stairs at this point as he rolls down, and he stands up with his face all bruised and battered, with a pretty big bump coming out of it. Sasuke returns to Naruto's seat this time, and tells Naruto to sit. They're swapping places, so Naruto can't continue to stare at her like he used to. So, a few years would pass by, and eventually they would graduate from the academy. And, to Sasuke's dismay, she is placed on the same team as Naruto. Along with Sakura, because, fuck it, why not? Sasuke has been at the top of her class the entire time, whereas Naruto obviously was not. So, the teams would actually end up staying the same because of that. So, Team 7 would actually be introduced to be the same people, and the introductions would actually begin. Sakura would actually be quite different, not necessarily saying she's any stronger or any more useful than what she would be normally. However, she's a bit different in terms of her feelings towards a certain somebody. She's more annoyed, rather than anything else, about the village. There's no good guys, and everybody there is a literal, they're a hunk of garbage. Nobody has a good personality there, and everybody is fucking ugly as all hell. Sakura's just going on a rant about this. Naruto rolls his eyes in the back of his head as he's just like, shut the fuck up. Knowing he probably shouldn't, interfere with everything happening because Kakashi seems to be quite entertained by all of this. However, Kakashi shuts her up, saying, "Shut the fuck up, the next person is gonna go, you've been talking for long enough." Naruto goes next, and Naruto still has the same goal. He still wants to become Hokage and become very strong. However, his reason for doing so is slightly altered. Instead of being like, "Oh, I love Sakura, I love this," he's more so doing it to try to impress Sasuke, make her feel as if Naruto's important and strong, and somebody that she could actually find herself with. Sasuke's is quite... I wouldn't say it's completely and utterly different, but it's a little tad bit different. Sasuke used a little bit more reason in his thinking. She isn't actually completely blinded by her anger towards her brother. She thought about it a little bit more logically and has been forming up a bunch of different theories about exactly why Itachi would have killed her entire clan. She's been thinking about it for a while, and she figured the only way to actually answer this question would be by confronting Itachi herself. However, in order to do this, she knew that she would have to be strong. In order to actually get him to talk, she'd have to defeat him first. So hers is just pretty simple. She needs to get powerful in order to subdue a certain somebody. With that being over, the bell test would actually begin the next day. Nobody eats, and it would begin. Naruto, thinking that this is his perfect opportunity to show off a little bit, he decides to stay out. He doesn't go and hide or anything like that. Kakashi thinks this is a pretty stupid act of arrogance, and this proves to be true, as Naruto gets absolutely dominated and completely and utterly butt-fucked by Kakashi. So Sakura she'd try, but she would absolutely fail as well, and Sasuke would actually come out. Kakashi would be similarly impressed as he was with her before because, she's at a similar level to what Sasuke was, and pretty similar fighting technique, strength, and everything like that. Nothing would really be different, and the bell test would go pretty much exactly the same. Sasuke would eventually be like, "Fine, have some fucking food," after Naruto begs for, a long time, and eventually Naruto would get his food, and he's like, "Oh, it must be because you love me, right, Sasuke, right?" Sasuke looks at Naruto now, and just about as she's about to pull the food away from Naruto, Kakashi jumps in. He's like, "You guys pass." So everything ends well. They'd start their D-rank missions, and obviously I'm not going to cover them because they're absurdly boring, and there's literally 0 point in order to actually do so. What the fuck would the point be of actually covering them? So now that I think about this a little bit more, the really only changes inside of Naruto would really be the interaction, along with some of that's pretty much it. The interaction between Naruto and Sasuke. Other than maybe towards the end of actual Naruto. I could see it changing a little bit there too. Not Shippuden, actual Naruto. So we're going to be skipping over a few things. We're going to be skimming a few key differences between them. However, nothing really too major is actually going to happen. So Land of Waves would actually, start, and it goes normally all up until the point towards the end of their battle. Sasuke and Naruto are both inside of the ice prison, and Sasuke jumps in the way of Naruto because she sees it as, she kind of sees it as she has to save him. During this, Naruto gets completely and utterly enraged, similar to what he does normally. However, it's a bit more so than what it was originally. The rage that Naruto actually has allows the seal to be weakened even further than it was originally, and this actually allows for even more of the Nine-Tails chakra to actually seep out of Naruto, unleashing a full cloak. Naruto's completely enraged and completely out of control at this point. He has no control over himself, and he goes on a complete and utter rampage. First, sending his fist straight through Haku's chest, dropping him to the ground, dead. He then turns his attention towards the two people fighting off in the distance, this being Kakashi and Zabuza. Zabuza being the one closer to Naruto. Naruto launches in that direction, without Zabuza really knowing what was happening. He gets completely and utterly impaled by Naruto's fist as well, as Naruto slams straight through him. Naruto then would turn towards Kakashi, who grabs Zabuza's sword. He's just like, "Okay, This is about to be very dangerous and not necessarily fun in any way, shape, and or form. As this happens, Naruto charges towards Kakashi, with Kakashi barely being able to block the blows from Naruto, but barely able to actually do so, so he's rather unscathed through most of the fight, with how completely and utterly lackluster Naruto's attacks are. Slowly, the Nine-Tails chakra would begin to dissipate. I'm kidding. It wouldn't dissipate. It would slowly begin to increase. Like, come on, let's be honest here. And Naruto gets stronger and stronger. Eventually, an entire second tail would come out, and Naruto is completely and utterly obliterating Kakashi at this point, who is completely on the defensive. As this happens, out of the corner of his eye, Naruto sees something that brings him to his senses. Sasuke, standing up. Wait, standing up? Naruto completely stops in his tracks as all of the Nine-Tails chakra recedes back into his body. He's looking in the direction that he saw the figure, and he sees long flowing black hair standing up. Naruto's like, oh, she's alive. As Naruto is about to whisper the words, she's alive, he falls down to the ground, unconscious. Naruto wakes up later, and he finds out that he's back at the village. He completely lost control there, and they had to do some convincing in order to get the village elders not to completely, lock up Naruto, basically. The main reason they didn't lock up Naruto is because he's more of an asset to the village than danger. Even if he did lose control, there would be people that would be able to stop him. However, they would be putting more of a watchful eye over Naruto now because of the fact that he did completely lose control earlier on than he would have normally. So Naruto goes and he confronts Sasuke after this, and he basically wanted to apologize. He completely lost control, and he should have been able to keep his emotions in check, and he just wanted to apologize for that. So he goes over to Sasuke's house. He enters, or not enters, obviously. He knocks on the door, and Sasuke would open it. She asks Naruto what exactly he's doing here, and Naruto just said he wanted to apologize. He explains why he wants to apologize, explaining that he shouldn't have lost control and this and that, and he put everybody in danger, and he wasn't going to let it happen again. Sasuke appreciates this, and she invites Naruto in. Naruto is just like, oh, okay, I'll be fine to actually come in, I don't really see why I shouldn't, so he follows in after Sasuke. As Naruto walks in, Sasuke basically says, she's like, yeah, I was cooking something for dinner. Do you have any preferences? What do you want? And Naruto's just like, well, do you have anything, different? All I've really, ate for, my entire life is ramen. Sasuke smiles at this, and she's just like, actually, that's kind of what I was cooking tonight. And Naruto's like, oh, really? That's pretty dope. As Naruto sits down, he smells it. He's just like, wait, that smells almost exactly like Ichiraku's ramen. Sasuke turns around. She's like, yeah, I got the recipe from him myself. I walked over there, and I was just like, hey, your ramen is really fucking good. Can I have the recipe for it? And he actually agreed, surprisingly. Naruto's like, oh, really? You'd make a good cook. Sasuke kind of blushes a little bit now, and Naruto notices that. He's like, wait, does she not completely hate me? That's the vibe I was kind of getting from her before. This is different. This is not what I was actually anticipating. This is not what I was expecting. Naruto continues basically to eat his dinner, and they talk a little bit throughout, as they learn that they're a little bit more similar than they actually had expected. Naruto's a little bit more open about his past here because he isn't, completely on the defensive talking to Sasuke here, and Sasuke's actually pretty similar. She's a little bit more open about exactly what had happened in her past. She doesn't obviously, open up the fact that her brother was the one that, massacred her entire village or anything, but she does mention the fact that, somebody close to her did do it. They start, basically, what would be the best word to actually use here? Sympathizing. The word that starts with an S. They were sympathizing with one another over their past, and how that one of them lost, one of them never had, and everything like that. Eventually, a few hours would pass, and they kind of lost track of time. It's at that point where they kind of want to go to bed. Naruto stands up, he thanks her for the meal, and he's about to leave. Sasuke escorts Naruto to the door, and Naruto's like, oh, well, thanks, I guess? Naruto blushes a little bit, and he then reaches for Sasuke, grabbing her hand and giving her a hug, before he completely and utterly blushes, turning into a complete and utter tomato before running out the door. Sasuke closes the door and kind of smiles to herself as she goes to bed that night. So now there really wouldn't be anything too interesting to actually happen until like Shippuden, basically. Actually, I kind of forgot about something. Sasuke, most likely, due to the fact that she more like sympathized with Naruto and all this and that, she most likely wouldn't actually join Orochimaru, because, I just don't really see her actually doing that. Naruto might have a better impact on her to actually end up staying because of that emotional, like, better, basically, emotional bond that they had actually forged with one another. So, over the 3 years of the time skip, because, there's really no point in covering the actual, Forest of Death and everything like that, because it would go literally exactly the same, other than at the end, Sasuke doesn't end up going with Orochimaru. And yeah, that's pretty much there really wouldn't be any other differences. Naruto goes and he gets, I just need to take a deep breath and remember that I can speak English. So Naruto still goes and he gets Tsunade because Hiruzen still dies to Orochimaru and everything like that. That all completely goes normally, so the Shippuden break would actually end up happening, where a few more moments like that would actually happen, and eventually Sasuke and Naruto, by the end of that 3 years, would have been officially classified or clarified that with one another that they are actually dating now. So they start going out, they start doing datey things, like they go out to dinner sometimes, they go watch the sunset, the stereotypical wow, you're like the dream girlfriend, dream boyfriend kind of situation here. So another thing is that up until they're a ways down, nothing really interesting would actually happen. Cool, their relationship now, they're probably gonna bang, they're probably gonna do stuff like that eventually, but nothing too interesting would actually happen. Most of Shippuden would actually go the same. They go through all of the different things. The only difference would be that Sasuke doesn't have a curse mark or anything like that. They still go, they confront Itachi, and they find out all of these answers, and everything like that would go normally. So there really wouldn't be too many differences throughout most of Shippuden. Madara gets revived and everything like that. They both get their halves of the 6 paths and everything like that. That all goes normally. Up until when, the last would happen. They'd save Hinata, however Naruto doesn't end up going out with Hinata at the end of that. So eventually Boruto would come around. Naruto and Sasuke end up having a kid. And by golly, is this kid going to be the most OP motherfucker ever. Nobody in Boruto is going to be able to do jack shit to this kid. So, okay. Say this Boruto, whoever the kid actually ends up getting named, he gets his Karma Seal, he gets this, he gets that, he gets the Sharingan, he evolves it, he gets the Mangekyo, along with having the Karma Seal and having whoever it is sealed inside of him. It would be completely and utterly unfair for everybody around him. Even, the top tiers would be absolutely nothing compared to him. By the age of, fucking 14, he probably would have surpassed Naruto and Sasuke. So we're really not going to cover all that much of that because nothing really interesting would happen. He's just OP as fuck. So that's where I'm going to leave this part off, or probably the last part, because I don't really see where I'd go from here. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.